Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever it takes. Thank you for attending my presentation, which is Enhancing Speaking Skills Through Poetry, a phonological and vocabulary acquisition approach. My name is Hector Ramiro Ordonez Zúñiga. I'm a professor from the National Polytechnical Institute in Mexico City, Mexico. Okay, so let's start. We perfectly know that speaking is one of the most concerning activities that we have within the English language course. And this is a big concern for a lot of students and teachers as well because speaking possibly could be everything for everybody. It is just, okay, the tip of the iceberg because we have something very important to check about that. And then the part of speaking is really how then we can master this ability. And it is really important because speaking is going to bolster confidence. And with this confidence, we are going to have a cultural integration. Once we have this integration, we can have academic and professional success. And this success facilitates language acquisition for a personal and social benefits. So this becomes a cycle where by commanding the language, we perfectly understand that there are some things that are at stake with the situation of we need to improve our speaking skills. And that is a big question, and that we listen every day into the classroom. And when students come and say, teacher, how can I improve my speaking? How can I have something better in order to be a fluent speaker of English? Well, one of the most important things that we need to get into consideration is acquiring vocabulary. Because the fact is that at the moment that I am speaking, for example, I am having my brain, okay, to recall with my memory a lot of words and I am getting grammatical rules, I am having phonological aspects and things about that that we perfectly know, understand, but sometimes we don't understand how can we improve or what are the areas that we need to tackle in order to have better speaking skills. So the key, as I have seen and in my empiric research, is about building blocks of communication, that I have to memorize certain parts of blocks with vocabulary, grammar structures, etc., that I'm going to recall faster and I can produce my speech. And the most important of this is that we need to have a certain context, so these words that I am learning, they are so meaningful, and most of all is that I should not use to improve my speaking and vocabulary skills using just the material that it is intended for this in some of the textbooks that we can have in our classroom by any or other reason. That is okay. That is not a big issue. So this is what we have here. We are going to analyze the rate of speech using certain metrics that they are going to be important to understand. And most of all, how can we get these metrics? And there is not a big problem with understanding this. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the English vocabulary profile, that it is related to the Common European Framework of Referencing Languages. Later, I'm going to talk about the Vocabulary Overlap Coefficient, the VOCD, and then the Measure of Textual Lexical Diversity, the MTLD, the Flesch Reading Ease, and the Spoken Speech Rate. So, why are these important? Where can I get those metrics? Or how can I get an idea about using these metrics? Not a big problem. So, the English Vocabulary Profile is a project made by the University of Cambridge, okay, and this is the most comprehensive list of vocabulary that we have with the information, the data they acquire from their main suit examination test, okay, for language proficiency. And when you say, okay, how can I know that something is A1, A2, B1, B2, etc.? It's because we have this thing. Simple and common words often belong to lower levels from A1 to B1, and complex or specialized vocabulary tends to be higher from B2 to C2, even if we have the academic levels D1 and D2, this is something important. But how do I know that, for example, any word and says, for example, vocabulary, the one that I am just seeing here on my slide, what level could be vocabulary? How can I know this is complex? This is complex because of the number of characters, the number of syllables that we have. So, not only this, just to judging the word because the number of letters, the number of characters, the number of syllables, but also the meaning. That is also an important part that we need to consider. How the meaning and the grammatical functions that I can have with all those words. So I know vocabulary is a noun. But for example, complex will be an adjective, yes, I know. But for example, I have the verb belong. So this is a possibly A to B one word because it's only just two syllables. It is formed by two words for the verb and the prefix be and the root long, etc. So this is not precisely the scope of this presentation, but the shorter and simple the word it is, okay, it's going to improve our understanding of these words. Well, the new metrics that maybe you are interested to know about, for example, is the vocabulary overlap coefficient. This is a quantitative measure to assess the similarity or overlap between two vocabulary sets. So, how can I say that? Okay, that's very easy. It will be by analyzing the speech of my students, which you can say, okay, with a written text is very easy because I can have this comparison of words using specialized linguistic software or even using artificial intelligence in things such as ChatGPT to analyze and contrast, okay, what are the common words these two pieces of text share and which others not. Okay, that is very simple. It will be a situation that they say, what is the similarity? And we can have certain mathematical operations, okay, to understand what is that coefficient. With that coefficient, we are going to know that how similar a text is. And for example, if I have a reading in my unit 7, okay, of any given textbook, okay, I need to compare with other text, okay, in order to know how this vocabulary is overlapping and how it's going to be easier to read it, to speak about it, to use the vocabulary, and the more vocabulary that we know, of course, it's going to improve much better the speaking rate. But just having the vocabulary sometimes is not the solution, you may say. And yes, I understand what's your point. So the next metric is going to be also quite important for us, is the measure of textual lexical diversity. This is to assess the richness and variety of vocabulary in a text. It is beneficial for analyzing written language, including essays, articles, books, and any other form of written communication, because with this we are going to have certain data about the diversity of vocabulary users, which can be indicative of the text complexity, readability, and linguistic sophistication. What do I mean by this? It's very simple. I have any text with a specific number of words, and I need to know how many unique words it has. This is very simple because I have to divide one of the others, and let's say that a standard, normal, not very unusual text should be around 0.45 and 0.55. If I have a value, a parameter that it goes lower or higher than that, okay, if I have a lower, so the text is very repetitive. On the contrary, if I have a higher number, because this is just goes from 0 to 1, the higher number is that that text contains very few words that are not repeated. And we understand that in English, that is sometimes not that very easy. But it's something that we have to say. And if we consider something about in the middle, okay, 50 and around 50, we're going to say, okay, the text it's nice. It's okay. Secondly, we have the Flesch Reading Ease score. So this is a readability formula that has been used for over a long period of time, which means that how easy is the text to comprehend. And by having my observation during class with this value that it is quite easy to get, it is something that I can predict how easy it's going to be memorized, the vocabulary can be recalled, and then I can have my students speaking. So we have these parameters, okay, those are constants, because there is something that is really important here. So I have the average sentence length, okay, in terms of word, and the average word length in syllables. So I can have a 12-word sentence, but I'm going to have around 18 syllables, okay? I need to calculate this in order to have it, but you say, okay, how can I get this calculation? You will see. And lastly, the last and the most important is to understand and how to calculate the spoken speech rate. This is to quantify the pace at which an individual speaks in terms of words per minute. So the formula is, so you have the total words spoken divided by the time multiplied by 60. Okay, in this case, I'm going to have the example with the poem I'm going to present you in a moment. So I have 197 words that they are 90 seconds. Okay, so to make things easier, you have to take the time with your mobile phone, with a stopwatch, whatever, and then you can have, okay, the time. So if I said just, okay, to make things clear, 1 minute, 30 seconds, okay, I know that those are 90 seconds. So if I divide 197 by 90, I'm going to have 2.1888 and so on. So that 1.888, well, 2.888, I multiply by 60, and then I have the total numbers of words per minute. So calculating, okay, that the next poem I'm going to read it in around 90 seconds. So I am speaking at a rate of 131 words per minute. But of course, this value is not exactly to be fixed because it's depending on the type of text, the familiarity I have with the vocabulary, how well can I read, and that is going to give me something. It is not the same to read a poem, for example, than reading an essay, an article, or something. So, now here is the great question. Why should we use poetry? Poetry, there are shorter texts that they have just one purpose, and the purpose is that it should listen nicely. We are not going to be concerned a lot about the interpretation and the analysis because that is going to be a very interesting topic, but of course it's going to promote certain debate among students and to give their opinion. I like this poem for this reason, or no, I don't like it because of this, etc. That is very nice. But the poem is going to provide us with articulation and pronunciation resources that they are going to improve our speaking. So this is going to be beneficial for my memory and my ability to recall and retrieve information from my memory. So let's say that this is this power training for speaking. Reading aloud, memorizing, reciting a poem is going to be quite easy. But okay, let me exemplify this for you. So, I have this poem. Okay, the poem is 276th, and it says, waiting for the one I love can be a test. I count the moments, the hours, and the days. And I yearn for the one who I see my heart ablaze, an exercise of patience, faith, and unrest. I wait for the bated breath with a hopeful heart. I dream of your smile, your touch, and your embrace. I long to see the love that I etch on your face for the moment when we will no longer be apart. The waiting can be hard, but it is worth the cost. I wait because I know the joy will come. Use warmth and comfort and the love that will run. For love all things are gained and nothing lost. I wait because I trust in love's sweet power, and through the waiting it may seem long and taut. Love is worth it all, for it's more than enough in the bonds to grow stronger at every hour. For the one I love, the one who sets me free and apart, for the waiting, love only grows stronger. And his embrace I shall wait no longer, so I shall wait with hope, faith in my rapt heart. Okay, thank you. This is a poem of my own creation from the book Poetry of Bell Accents. If we talk about that, we know that it has 197 words. The unique words are 95. The token type ratio, okay, that is the amount of unique words is 0.48. So I am at least repeating several words. I have 228 syllables. With the Flesch Reading Ease, it's about 80. So that means it has a high readability. It's easier to understand, and there is not such complicated vocabulary. In the VOCD, in the overlap, I have a score of 45, and in my other place, I have 48. So if you can see, the token to tape ratio, the syllables, okay, concord, and well, according to the English vocabulary profile, this is rated as C1. Why is it C1? Because you can say, okay, the quality of the vocabulary could be not very complex, but the idea, giving, okay, waiting someone that you love, okay, having all these feelings, okay, that makes the idea a little bit complicated. But, okay, that's why it is rated as C1. But you say, how can I get those numbers? At least you can have the Flesch Reading Ease and certain metrics from this specific part in your word processor. So you go to editor and then you go to the last and you say, okay, document statistics, and you're going to have this one. Sorry, it is in Spanish, but okay, I have my Spanish version. But at least when you analyze all these numbers, you're going to have the reading is, and at least you're going to have an idea that that reading is going to be easier to read and it's going to be a parameter to know if it is going to be okay for reading aloud or what kind of complication I'm going to use it. So it also tells me the number of characters, the number of words, and then if you see, okay, if I have a high rate for about 70 or more, and I have a lot of words, so I understand that it is quite repetitive. If I have a complex text, okay, then I have below 60, the score of the Flesch Reading is, and I said I have a lot of words, that means that those words are complicated and multisyllabic, and that is going to be, of course, something more challenging to read, but the fact is that if we keep a record, okay, of this speed ratio that our students are having, you can have it in your classroom or you can have your students to have it. And that is a nice thing because the students may participate by bringing poems into the class or maybe using songs, small pieces of text, and then you can categorize those texts that they are using, and you're going to see the difference. But the most important thing is that, for example, at the beginning of your course, you have a student that it is reading for around 80 or 90 words per minute or less. Okay, so we're going to consider that this student has just beginning his studies in English as a foreign language, but if after certain time we still get this low score, then it is something that we need to keep reading aloud with this student, okay, in order to exercise all the phonological apparatus we have, okay, to produce better speech. So, and then we are going to have higher and higher level. So I will say that the best rate will be between 110 and 130. 140, 150, okay, that will be, even for a native speaker, something that will be faster. And if you have a value above 150, that text is reading very fast or the person is speaking too fast, and that may compromise understanding. So when we have this text number during the class, and then we have the words with it, and then we take the time and we have this ratio, and then we analyze, okay, if the reading the readability is okay. So then we are going to see how our students will progress. And when the students are aware of the speed of speaking they have, it's like having exercise, okay, going to the gym, okay, you are going to try to focus your effort, okay, to try to improve this number. So little by little, because sometimes we say, oh yes, teacher, I would like to speak better. So you have to practice, but practice how? When I need a parameter, I need something to fix this, and that is the situation. Just to conclude, I would like to say that assessing performance with certain these metrics or any other metrics that you come across is going to be important, because once we have numbers and we have data, we can enhance the comprehensibility of these values, and they are not just called numbers, but they are giving us a parameter. With this, sorry, we have a curriculum design that is data informed, so we are going to take better decisions. We can have a scientific path, okay, to develop our learning, our teaching, and our curriculum. We can have this learning analytics situation if you have, sorry, a learning management system, just like Moodle. You can have also a lot of things, but that is another thing. And of course, you're going to have this proficiency improvement. So with this, I finish my presentation. Thank you very much. Here is some bibliography that you can consult, that you can have some reference. And my last word is to say thank you very much for your time, for your attention, and I hope that you enjoy this wonderful event organized by the Korean Teacher Association. Thank you very much, and if you have further questions, it's my contact data, and I will be very happy to be in touch with you. Thank you very much. See you in another time.